know it's going to do this over here and continue. And there we are. Make it a little bit bigger for the time being. All right, welcome everyone. This is Unit 4, Day 9, okay? This lesson will take about 2 days, just to let y'all know, okay? We're talking about systems of inequalities. So we will write and solve. Done. We will, I'm going to change that up a little bit. We're going to basically graph and identify solutions given a system of inequalities. All right. All right. And here our one vocabulary term is, what is a system of inequalities? It is a set of inequalities with the same variables. Okay. Alrighty. And so what we've kind of done, my counter example would be something like, let's say we have y equals let's say 2x minus 5, and then we might have y equals 1/2 x plus 5. This was our set of equations, right? But the only difference with what we're doing today is we no longer have the equal sign. We actually have y is like, maybe it's greater than 3x or something like this, right, on the bottom. So this right here would be an example. And so maybe you have something, I'm just going to give you a little quick one. And then y is less than or equal to x plus 5. Okay. So that's basically the difference. And whenever we talk about a set of inequalities, typically we are discussing it like with 2, but it's really at least 2. So meaning that we could have more than 2 inequalities. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. So before we get started on this, I want to go ahead and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the page, okay? Because I want to talk about a few things. I'm going to go ahead all the way to the very back. And right here, I want to talk about the steps for graphing an inequality. Now, technically, we have already done this lesson. Whether or not y'all remember, that's another thing. But for graphing an inequality, okay? So number 1, where do we always begin? We always begin, and this is really important that you understand that I'm talking about it must be in slope-intercept form, right? So that might be something critical. Maybe that's like step 0, okay? The inequality must be in slope-intercept form. And so just think about it in terms of like when we like graph a regular equation, where do we begin with? So I'm looking for your answers in the chat. Awesome. And most of y'all said, yeah, if you definitely have to have y already isolated for it to be slope-intercept. But we begin with b, right? And of course, b is the y-intercept. That's our y-intercept. So b, and I'm in parentheses, I'm going to put y-intercept. So that's like one big difference from when you're like in middle school and we're like plotting points. You always begin with the origin. But now when we're talking about how to plot an equation or an inequality, we always begin with the y-intercept. So that is one slight difference. Okay, step number 2. We move with, what tells us how to move? We move with M. You get it? See, begin, B, move, M, right? And we know that the slope is what M is referring to. That's our rise over run, right? All right, step 3. So once we kind of plotted our y-intercept and then we move and put another point, typically with equations, we would just draw a line. And that's good, but it's a little bit more complicated when we talk about inequalities. So the third step is drawing a line. A little close. But we got to talk about what kind of line, right? So let's say that we're talking about less than or greater than. Okay, let's see if you remember. What kind of line is it going to be? Dashed or is it solid? I'd love to hear from you. All right. Yeah, so for those of you who remember, and if you don't, it's okay because it's good that we kind of get it in our head. This is going to be a dashed line. Okay, it's like an open dot. It does not include the value, right? And that's something else I would write. Does not include the value of whatever's on that line, right? Does not include. All right, and then if we were talking about less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, that's a solid line. Maybe one way you could remember is that if it has a solid line underneath it, then it's a solid line, right? And that one does include the value. Okay, it does include. I always think of like the less than or greater than as like the mean girl of lines, right? Like, oh no, you can't be with us. So it does not include. And then finally, which that's a really old movie, I realize, we're going to shade. Okay? And here's the general rule. If provided that it's in slope-intercept form, if you have something that looks like, I'm going to do this. If I have something like this, less than or equal to, okay? So notice greater than or greater than or equal to is above. Okay, yeah, and this is just a little technique, but see how you can make a D out of it? So that means you're going to shade down. Okay? And if you do the greater than or greater than or equal to, so you're absolutely correct. And you said that, man. Okay? That we can make a little P out of. And that is for up. Now, just be warned that if you are trying to do that and you're trying to eyeball it and you don't want to take the 5 seconds to write it down, your eyeballs will play tricks with you, okay? So just take the time, write down the little like inequality and put a line, because I can't tell you how many people like, yep, that's a P and it's making a B, right? Making a lowercase b. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, any questions on this so far? Okay. So I'm going to move. Yes. Okay. And I'm going to go to example number 1. Make it a little smaller and let me know if you need it larger. Okay. We're going to solve the system of inequalities. So let's start off with this first one. And I guess I'm going to make this one right here yellow, just so we can kind of keep it straight. And then yellow and green make, no, yellow and blue. Okay, so the second one, I'm going to make blue. So when we draw this, we go ahead and let's identify our M and our B. Is the color okay? Okay. So M is going to be 2 and B is going to be 2. Okay, keep in mind that's M and this is B. So anytime I have a whole number, what am I going to put it over? Very good. 1. Nice, nice, good. And this is going to tell me what direction. First I go up, it's positive, good. And then on the bottom, I always go to the on the bottom, it is always to the right, okay? The only time that it changes, yeah, it's okay, is if you have a negative slope, like this one, you're gonna go down, right? Other than that, you always go to the right, okay? Unless you're doing it in complete reverse. So let's start off. We're gonna put some yellow dots on here. And I'm gonna start at begin with B. So, double check. Here we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, it lands good. We can assume that each one is incrementing by 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2. That's my first dot, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move according to my slope. So my slope is saying that I'm going to go ahead and move up by 2, 1, 2, and then to the right by 1, right? And I'm going to put my second dot. And you just kind of keep doing it, up by 2, over by 1, up by 2, over by 1, up by 2, and over by 1. And if you need to reverse it, just because you would do it completely opposite, right? So down by 2 to left by 1, down by 2 and to the left by 1, down by 2 and to the left by 1, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, we draw our line. Okay, in the chat, I would like for you to tell me what kind of line is this going to be? Is it going to be dashed or is it going to be solid? Right, this is entirely dashed, yes. And so we're going to go like this. And while I'm drawing this line, I want you to tell me, is it going to be shading up or is it going to be shading down? So make either a P or a D out of that inequality. Okay. And so take the 5 seconds to write that inequality, right? And see what you can make, because already, and it's not a surprise, it's always 50-50. Okay. So just take the time, scribble it down, and then put your line and see, does it make a D or does it make a P? And ladies and gentlemen, right here, that's a D, y'all. That's a D. So hopefully you understand why I say don't eyeball this, because I guarantee it will be very difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade down. What this looks like is that you start at the y-intercept and you just shade below, right? And because I don't really have a highlighter, I'm just putting dots, okay? You do what works. If you have a pack of highlighters, this is a great time to use them. So I'm shading everything below. Now, in the past, solutions always lived where? When we were talking about equations.
Where the lines connect.
Yes, where they connect, where they intersect, where they touch, right? So it's a little different. Yes, good. It's a little bit different now, right? Because, well, we don't just have one line. We have this whole massive area, right? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start again. We're going to go ahead and look at the blue one. Here I have M is equal to -1. And I'm going to put it over a 1. And B is equal to -3. Okay. So the -1 means that we're going down and to the right, unless we have to reverse it, right? So I'm going to put a dot starting at -3. That's 0, -1, -2, -3, right? And we're going down 1 and to the right by 1. Easy enough. Look pretty easy. Chloe, what do you think? Doable? All right, cool. So down by 1, oh, to the right by 1, down by 1, and to the right by 1. And then you're just going to reverse it and put it in the opposite way. Now, what kind of line should I draw here? Solid or dashed? Good. Okay, so this is going to be a nice solid line. And should I shade up or down? And I'm trying real hard to make it straight now. And let's see. We have this. I have a lot of ups. Looks like a P to me. That's up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade. I'm going to do dots. So I start at the y-intercept and I'm just shading up, right? So solutions live, and this part's really important. Solutions live where the lines, where the shade overlaps, okay? That is a distinction. Okay? So solutions live where the shade overlaps. I'm going to write that down right here. Okay, really important. So I'm going to ask you, and so far, any questions on how to plot a system of inequalities? Everybody's taking good notes? Because you will need that. So let's go ahead. And I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? So right here, I want you to tell me, is this right here a solution? All right, so the answer, of course, is that this is yes, this is a solution. Go ahead and tell me this one. Is it a solution? All right, Philip, what did you get? Is that a solution? This dot right here. Do you see where I? No. Right here. Look at the screen. You see it? Okay. So the answer is, your answer is no? Okay. Yeah, it would be correct because it's not anybody's solution. It's not a solution to the orange equation. It's not a solution to the blue one, right? All right, let's talk about this one. Is this a solution to the system of inequalities? Yay or nay?
No, it's not.
All right. And of course, you are correct, sir. It is no. Okay. All right, right here.
It's like we're drawing a compass of no's and yeses.
Yeah, exactly. Hussein, go ahead and tell me, is this a solution to the system of inequality, sir?
No.
No. Why? How many inequalities does it have to satisfy? How many colors does it need to be? 0, 1, or 2?
1.
Okay, no, it's got to be overlapping. So it's where you have both colors represented on the graph, right? Both colors have to be represented. This only has blue, this only has orange, and this doesn't have any. That's why all three of these are no's, and this one is a yes, okay? All right, now I'm gonna go a little bit tougher. All right, Miss Chloe, go ahead and share with me, ma'am. Is this a solution to the inequalities? And she says no, why not? You don't think it overlaps? Okay. So is this in the orange area? Yes, check. We got one, okay. Is it in the blue zone? So remember this, okay, it is directly on the line, that's true. So we have to consider the type of line. does this line include values? So we would look at our notes because we took really good notes, right? And which one includes the solid or the dash? The solid, right? So if you think about it, since it includes it, then yes, it satisfies the blue and the yellow. The other way you can think about it is that this dash line is the mean girl. Okay, this is a nice one. This is a nice line. It includes, says that's okay. You're sitting on the line, that's okay. You can be included, okay? But if I'm right here, go ahead and tell me yes or no on this one. Juliana, go ahead and share with me. What are your thoughts? Is that yes or no, that it satisfies both inequalities? Okay. So the question is, this dot right here, does it does it satisfy both inequalities? Is it a solution to the system of inequalities? Okay. And she said no. Why? Because they don't touch. It's on the line, right? I mean, let's look at it. Does it satisfy the blue inequality? Mm-mm. No, it does, guys. It's totally in the blue area. It's in the blue area, right? Now, does it satisfy the orange part of it? Well, it's right on the line. Is this line including values? Yes or no? No. So this is not a solution, okay? Not a solution. I definitely need to hear from more of you guys, okay? Sitting here is not going to work. So let's go into this part. And those of you who are participating, you're awesome. Thank you. Keep it up. But right here, and this is what you're going to see on your exam. Is that a solution? I'm going to hit pause. I want everybody. So ladies and gentlemen, we decided that this is also a no because it only satisfies the blue, being that the blue line is nice and solid. It does not satisfy the orange because it is on a dashed line. And this line does not include values that are on the line, right? All right, so I hope that clarifies it. And if you have any questions, stick around, but that will be it for today. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Some of y'all are going to sleep your way right into taking algebra again next year.